You had the audacity to say that Trump's speech last night was, well, what did you say that drove everyone nuts?
I will say, I always think it's hilarious that people love you right up until you write something they disagree with, at which point you're the worst, most idiotic person who has ever walked the earth. So what I wrote, I've learned over the years to laugh it off because I can't do anything else. What I wrote was that I thought that it was a remarkably effective speech by a guy whose sort of seminal experience before coming into political life was as a reality star and reality TV producer. I always remind people Donald Trump was an executive producer on The Apprentice, and he produced, it was too long, but he produced an hour and 40 minutes of TV that could be chopped up into a handful of very shareable sound bites and clips on issues, biological boys playing in girls' sports, undocumented immigrants committing crimes, including murder, a little boy getting to be an honorary Secret Service member. Issues that are 80-20 issues. 80% of the public is with him, 20% of the public is against him. That's a political win. And just I'll add, yes, he said lots of things that aren't true. Absolutely. Some of the stuff on Social Security and who is still getting paid by Social Security has been debunked a million times. The idea that other countries are sending people from mental institutions, debunked 100 times. I get it. I know some people will not get past that, but I also know for the average independent swing, low information voter, they're probably not going to access all that information, and their vibe will be, oh, okay, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the Social Security thing, it is, to me, kind of the dumb guy approach where you act like, oh, we're all these people over 150 are getting Social Security, when anybody who's done any research on this knows that this is a data entry sort of computer thing. But most people aren't in the details. And you're like, yeah, every politician talks about waste, Democrats and Republicans. But some of the Trump examples, it's how do you look at those and say like, oh no, that was a good program? Like you just can't.
It's in that laundry list. It's like, if I got some pushback from the left today because, I said, I thought when you talk about trying to create transgender mice, which is one of the programs Donald Trump discussed, it's a bad way to spend money. Some on the left are like, that's not what it was doing. It's more complicated than that. I'm like, if we are debating whether or not the federal government is spending money on transgender mice, you are losing. Like that. And that's, he kind of appeals, and I think this is critical to understanding him. He appeals to kind of our lizard brain, or the kind of the brain that the piece of the brain that's been there since the start that is kind of like, oh, that doesn't seem good, or oh, that seems bad. He plays to your emotion. He does it very effectively. And again, I think a lot of people live in the world that they want to exist as opposed to the world that is. And I just always remind people, politics is the world not as you want it to be, but as it is. You win elections, and then you shape the world into what you want it to be. I think Democrats are content to win the argument and lose the election.
Chris Cillizza is with us. You can read him on Substack, chriscillizza.substack.com, and you can also see him on TV once again. He was with CNN for a long time. I'll let Chris share that news in just a minute. But I do want to ask about this sort of tradition of the State of the Union address, because it strikes me, I'll say this. Last night, I'm talking to my wife. We're making dinner at 7 o'clock, and she's like, you're going to make me watch this State of the Union address, aren't you? I'm like, yep. Yes, I am. Like, you know what my job is? Yes. Well,
yep.
Like, I'm not going to make you sit here, but it is what I'm doing tonight. And our 17-year-old watched it with us, and it was very interesting. That said, I think that the polling data is very that people watch largely to cheer for their team, and everybody else just consumes it in social media moments the next day.
100%.
Absolutely. Why not get rid of this? It is stupid. It is no one will remember anything that happened in this speech in 1 week. Why are we still doing this?
Well, because it's in the Constitution that the president is supposed to, in the first few months of each year, deliver an update to Congress. Now, many presidents in the way back times would just do a written
Yes.
State of the Union or a very short one, which I am in favor of.
So is this a meeting that could be an email?
Absolutely, like most meetings,
Right.
Jason.
Right. Exactly.
I think. Look, I will say I don't think. Well, I do think that Donald Trump effectively sort of pushed on issues where he can win. I don't think either side particularly covered themselves in glory last night. I thought Al Green, the congressman from Texas, standing up and yelling at Donald Trump until he knew he would be removed as a way to kind of send a message. Like, you can hate Donald Trump. You can think that he shouldn't be president, but he won fair and square. Like, the way that we pick presidents, he won. And it says that the president gets to deliver a sort of update on the state of the country. And that's what he was doing. So it's kind of like, it's performative politics and junk. And I think that's what the kind of the middle of the country, ideologically, I think probably feels that way. You know, they're not going to watch. They're not us. You think they're going to watch a 100-minute speech? And then poor Alyssa Slotkin, from Michigan, the Democratic response, she was like 11:20 when she went on, at least on the East Coast.
Right.
I'm watching it. I don't know how many other people are, but they're not going to do that. They might hear about it. They might see one clip. And again, I thought that's why Trump wound up giving a pretty effective speech, because there was enough stuff that could be chopped up in there that's going to appeal not to the Democratic base. Of course, they're not going to like it, but to people who are loosely affiliated with either party and pay very little attention, but also wind up being the deciding votes lots of times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, like, as outdated as I think this is, we knocked FBI International off the air. We knocked The Rookie off the air. Stop me when you hear something that you would rather watch.
I didn't know those were shows.
There's
my
a show
friend.
called Doc. We apparently I had to look this up. We knocked Doc off the air, and
Is ER still on?
Deal or No Deal Island is what we knocked off on NBC. So
Right. I think
mean,
people could benefit from. So to your point, I know most people don't watch the whole speech, but I also know that civic literacy in this country is dark. I mean, like, if you walk out on the street and ask 100 people to explain what a tariff is or does, if you find 2 people who can do that, I'd be impressed. So even if it's 10 minutes of watching the speech, that's 10 minutes more of politics and policy than they're probably going to get in a week, usually.
Chris Cillizza is with us. He is a political analyst. He is a self-published journalist on Substack. And soon he'll be back on TV. You just announced, I don't know, about a half hour ago, it showed up in my email. Share your news, Chris.
Well, so, Jason, you and I think, have bonded because we kind of see the world the same, which is that both parties do dumb things and both parties do smart things. And not one party has cornered the market on either smart or dumb. And, I always tell people when I describe what I do, I said, I'm calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. So if Donald Trump gives a good speech, I'll say it's a good speech. If Joe Biden gave a good speech, I'll say it's a good speech, and vice versa. So I signed on with News Nation, which is out of actually the Midwest, Chicago. Nexstar owns it. It's a fledgling cable network. It used to be WGN. And people like Leland Vittert from Fox News, formerly of Fox News, my friend Chris Cuomo, formerly of CNN, Elizabeth Vargas, formerly of ABC, are all on there. I've been doing some stuff on there because I do think they are trying to do that calling balls and strikes as opposed to just telling people what they want to hear. And I really believe it's more important now than ever. Even if people don't want to hear it, I think they need to hear viewpoints that differ from their own and not demonize people who disagree with them.
We're going to talk about this a little bit in our next hour, but I think the Democrats really screwed up by refusing to stand or applaud at all. Like, fine, we don't expect you to cheer for the policy stuff, but, like, cheer for that kid with brain cancer, like, give me a break.
Right, like who's supposed? I was doing a live stream last night, Jason. You'll appreciate this. I was doing a live stream on YouTube where I had C-SPAN on and I was a little box in the corner, just occasionally offering thoughts.
Yeah.
And I found that very poignant. That moment, you kid has, that's a hard life. He's a 13-year-old kid with brain cancer who's battled that. And like that's a nice moment. Like, whatever you, that's a nice moment. I mean, people on the left, you're like, oh, quit fawning over Trump. I was like, dude, have we hardened our hearts that much? I'm not fawning over Trump. It's nice to see a kid who has had a hard life have a smile on his face.
Yes.
Like
The kid who
that
got
is
into
not
West
a
Point,
partisan view.
it's pretty good. Like, I mean,
Right.
yes, it's also like ridiculous pandering and
It's
showmanship.
theater. Of
Yes, but
course.
you can acknowledge both of those things and not look like such a dipwad sitting down the whole time like you're, oh, congrats, you're wearing pink. I'm happy
And
for you.
also,
Like,
by
so
the
stupid.
way, Jason, just one other quick thing. You know who else does political theater using people as pawns? The Democrats, the
Yes.
Democratic presidents. I mean, give me a break. They all do it.
Clinton, Obama, Biden, all of them
course.
were masters at that. This is not a new State of the Union technique.
No.
Although he
And
did
it
give
is
away
not
the
unique
name.
to Donald Trump.
He did give away the name of the national park. Someone in my replies said the only thing left to do would be to give someone a cyber truck, which probably would be
And you get a car. And you get
Why
it.
not?
Kind of feel like an Oprah show.
Yes.
Late Oprah show.
Chris, congrats on News Nation. I'll be watching,
my friend.
and thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care. Always a pleasure.
Chris Cillizza with us here on CCO.